Welcome back, ladies, to the Money Honey Show. And you're with me today, Rosalia Lazzarettilli, the founder and host for you here on the Money Honey. And I wanted to bring a message today on this episode about finding your tribe and finding your money honeys out there, because owning your own business, or maybe whatever position you're in, whether you're starting out or you've been in doing it already for 20 years, can be a bit lonely. And I've got clients who I talk to, like, I'm never actually lonely, as in I'm never on my own. I'm talking to people all day long. But the clients that are coming to me are paying me to talk to them about their shit, right? They're talking to me about their content, their branding, and my clients have become friends. A lot of them have, and it's quite a scary territory, if I may say so. It's a bit of a vulnerable position for me because I give a lot to my friends, and I give a lot of time and a lot of my energy and a lot of my heart. And you're not just there for the content in the end, you're there for a lot more than just the content. And sometimes we've been hurt by friends, haven't we? Like, you get let down. And so sometimes it's a bit scary trying to make a new friend because you're like, I don't want to be hurt, and I don't want like our friendship to cross over with our um professional relationship. And so sometimes you just hold back, or I've held back. Okay, I've held back from like diving deeper into that friendship with that person in fear of being hurt. So I've been like, you know what, you're my client, and that's that. And sometimes you do have to keep people in that category and just be like, no, that is just a client relationship. But then sometimes some little bees come along and you're like, you're my forever bee, and I want to keep you forever because you're just the cutest thing, and you mean a lot to me. So one of those bees is here today with me because I started out with her as a client relationship. She saw me at a networking event. I always loved, like, I was like, oh my god, she is gorgeous. Like, I always loved her like energy. And but I thought she's never gonna, like, she might not even, she's too good at what she does to want to work with me. I was like, oh, she's so good at social media. So I just never saw her as a potential client ever. So dare to say, I never approached her, I never instigated a conversation with her. But she came to me, and yeah, she was like, I knew exactly what she wanted. She was like, this is what we want, this is what we're doing, and you're doing it. I was like, am I? We've never spoken before. Like, literally, our first conversation was her. We've never gone back through this conversation before, but when I bring her in, I'll let her say her piece. But she basically decided that she was going to work with me, but we'd never even chatted before. And I was like, how does she know she's going to work with me? And it just made me like, okay, fine. So we explored the options and we were like, okay, let's work together. And ever since, we just cannot stop. Like, the universe just keeps throwing things at us, whether it's an event or whether it's an event for work or an event for fun, or just like those little chit chats, you know, when you're in the bath and you're like, babe, you know what? Like, and you're like just sending a voice note to that person saying, I'm contacting you as me, as Rosalia, as a friend, like not as a client. So yeah, just so much has happened with this person. I couldn't wait to record this show. One day we'll record it face to face, and you know, but for now, I just wanted to get her on, have a quick chat, because I sometimes get bored about talking about my business to my friends, and I just don't talk about it. But then making friends who are business owners, and who are absolutely smashing it. So this Money Honey for you today is an award-winning business leader. She basically took an idea that never existed before, and she turned it into a seven-figure business, an award-winning business, in just 2 years. So having a friend like that in my life, where I can celebrate them and who they are and what they are about, just makes me feel more fulfilled than having done it myself. Like, I'm happier for her than I am for what I've done this year, because I'm like, you know, you inspire me, and that's what the kind of people I want around me. So obviously the title says who's on the show. There's no surprises there, but my girl Anastasia from Isla Law is here, providing, the business Isla is providing same day ILA services for property and finance transactions. And they actually won, if you saw the celebration online, they won Best Specialist Finance Partner in 2024 by the Bridging and Commercial Awards. So that was an amazing celebration. But she is so like deep into her journey of like her spirituality side as well, and creating wealth and time freedom. She's actually just recently done her yoga teacher training. She also is co-host of Home Truths. So yeah, she's just a wildpreneur is what she calls herself, and I definitely back that up. She's allowed me to see a different side to myself, like where I wanted like things really measured and calculated and done in a certain way. I've kind of like, all right, okay, Anastasia, okay, we'll do that, let's just go with that, let's just go with what you say. And yeah, it's allowed me to just see a different side to me. So without further ado, let's bring the one and only gorgeous Anastasia.
Hi, woo! What an intro. I'm like tearing up over here. So sweet. Thank you.
We've never had a chance to kind of like reflect on that, Anastasia. We've never
Yeah.
reflected on our journey together, and it's happened really intensely and really fast. But if we
Mm.
look back, it did start out really formal, like a formal conversation, you and I, and then Luke got involved about the invoice and the contract, and then here we are. Like I don't know, yeah,
Yeah,
really.
I love that. I know you're so right. It was, when you were describing about me contacting you, like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to work together. I've decided it. It's just very me to be like, right, I've decided this is happening. And there was not even much discussion around it. But that's also a testimony to you and what I could see you were doing and what I wanted to be involved in and for you to help us with. So also hats off to you for that. That was very much me being like, I want a piece of what she's doing. So that was
Thank
good.
you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and what a journey we've been on. So
Mm.
before we just describe everything we've been working on, both in your business, but in what we're doing for our industry, let's just go straight in with a quick intro of who you are and what you do.
Sure. So, as I just said, my name's Anastasia. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Isla. So Isla was launched about 2.5 years ago now. And when we started it, this was never done before. And ILA is independent legal advice in the property and finance industry, and there'd never been a law firm that had just specialized in ILA. In fact, it was becoming really, really difficult for people to get hold of a solicitor to do ILA. So we sort of identified that gap in the market and was like, let's do this. Let's launch this business that just does ILA. And I think it will be massive. And as you touched on as well, both people were laughing at us. Solicitors were like, that's a stupid idea. It would never work. And I don't know about, most entrepreneurs probably have felt this at some point. When you've only got yourself to trust in that situation, that's really hard because you're like, well, what do I know? Maybe they're right. Um, and I don't know, as part of that kind of wildpreneur energy, I was like, no, this is going to work. And so we launched it. And as you said, within that 2 year period, we grew it from zero to 1.26 million in its first year's turnover, second year's turnover, sorry. So that was a huge growth. And I'm really transparent about that. Never as a brag, it's as a position of being like, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know this was going to happen. And you kind of get dragged through a hedge backwards to get that. You really do, which I try and share really openly, so that anyone else going through those things can resonate with it, or who is aspiring to do so, to really kind of think about what it means to get that. So that's Isla's side of it. We could always delve into more what ILA means, but it does what it says on the tin. And if anyone wants to see, you can see on the website. But essentially, that's that side of it. And then there's the whole other side to me, as you said, Roz, which is this deep spiritual journey that I've been on for many years now. And that's a big part of my life. I think that was a big part of also Isla's success, and that self-belief, that freeing yourself from those fears and just being like, I'm just going to try. And if I fall flat on my face, so be it. You've got to remove a lot of ego, I think, to be doing that as well, because often we don't do things because we're scared of what other people think. Um, So that's been a massive part. Often I think people think the spiritual and the business world are so separate, but it's not. If you accumulate, mix the two together, I think that's what makes people, quite these big powerhouses that you're like, how are you doing that? And I think it's the both of them linked together that can help that. So we've got that side of me, the business side of me, and that's kind of it in terms of who I am, what I do. Yeah, I think that's probably my intro for now.
Yeah, no, that is, I mean, you're a very, very busy person. There's lots that you do. But, it is so important as business owners. If you're going to write a business plan, you also need to write a personal development plan. How are you going to nurture yourself and yourself as a person and the people around you and your soul to ensure that you can carry out that business plan? Well, you need to be well to be able to run a business like this. So, Anastasia, I know you said that this wasn't going to happen. You didn't know this was going to happen. So, you started a business and some people so want it to happen. They're like, I just want to hit 1 million and I want to, I want to be a millionaire, or I want 1 million turnover. I want that big mega life. But then for you, it happened without even knowing it was going to happen or without necessarily wanting it. And now you have it. So what is the day in the life of a 7-figure CEO? What do you live through, go through? What comes with that?
Well, I also think so. There's a duality in it that it's no different to every other business owner day. I wake up, I have a coffee, I do some admin, I talk to my team. So there's also this thing. I don't know if people think it's something different, but it's not. Like that side of it's not. It really is like, and then in the evening will finish work and watch a film with my hubby, or he's not my husband, but my boyfriend. I'm not flying around in a private jet. Like, I don't know, when you were a child and you were like, oh, if I own a house worth 300 grand, I'm a millionaire. I don't know, things as when you were younger felt like they were bigger. And actually, obviously, that's still a beautiful home, but you're not a millionaire, and I think maybe you think it's going to be something else. So you think what you think you're going to be doing during your day. Like you still are running a business, you're still having a relatively normal life, or maybe that's what I created. I still wanted a normal life. So there's that aspect of it. But the aspect of it that is difficult is, I think, when you reach that level, all businesses have a pressure on you, of course, whether you're turning over 20 grand a year or 1.2 million a year. But I think the pressure comes from like you've got a much bigger team. You're dealing with many, many, many more clients. In order to generate that much money, you're dealing with hundreds of clients a month. You are the person who drives that ship, and it's a much bigger ship now. And that's exhausting. It really is. And that's why sometimes I think I'd say, like, be careful. What do you want? Because I didn't necessarily aim for this. And like I say, you're driving a really, really, really big ship now, and it's not just about you. Um, there's so many other factors you have to think of. So the risks become bigger, the compliance requirements become bigger, the regulatory requirements become bigger, your HMRC things become, everything's just bigger on steroids. And that's quite draining. And I think for me, what I found is once I'd kind of got there, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be at all. Isn't it? It doesn't feel as good as you think. I don't think my life is still quite normal. But not that I'd want it to be any other way. By the way, I wouldn't want to be flying off on a private jet. And also, you can't, you need to be a real, millionaire doing that. So it's not that, you're not going to be at that level. And so then it's like you actually just add a whole load of other stuff, stress on top of it. I think so. Still a relatively normal life, just with a whole lot more responsibility, but without making it also sound really negative, because I've just made it sound like it's not that fun. Obviously now I have a team, it frees me up a lot. So that's also, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So obviously something goes wrong in the business, as a CEO, I have to step in and fix it. And that thing that goes wrong is likely to be bigger when it's a bigger business. But when I'm not doing that, like today I don't work Fridays. So I free up that time. When I'm not in the office, I need something, people are doing other stuff. The business runs without me. And that's really special if you can get the balance right. If you don't become all consumed by it. That in itself is another journey and level to try and work out.
Anastasia, you actually started talking a lot about scaling back some of your luxuries. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because as you were scaling up, to this award-winning business, seven-figure CEO, your lifestyle started to scale back. And actually, when people are earning more money, they want to spend more money. Maybe they can afford that second car, and maybe they can afford the first class trip holiday. But what have you done with your lifestyle?
Yeah. So again, I try and be really transparent about this to try and help people who might want to do it a different way. So when I started, having big income months that I was taking home. So again, you can have businesses that are turning over seven figure, but the CEOs or the founders not taking home much. We were taking home a lot of money, and that. So I was able to live a life. There wasn't much that I couldn't afford each month. So I lived on Panorama Roads, which, if anyone knows Sandbanks, that's right on the peninsula. I had an Audi Q5, brand new, as in, it was brand new off the forecourt. We drove it, and we had a second car, BMW M4. We went to Africa, that cost like 10 grand or something, and I'm really grateful that I only did that for a short time, because what I found is all those things I could afford, but that meant my monthly outgoings were like 10 grand a month. And whilst I could afford it, what that did to me was, without even it's not even like a conscious thing, it created this pressure on me that just felt unbearable. Like I had to perform constantly, because if we didn't get that, then that was bad, right? So even if you're taking home 40 grand that month, but your outgoings are 10 grand, what if next month you only take home 15, or next month you take home 5, or you are then at the mercy of having to make that money every month. And you could say, well, what happens if I own a business that is just doing that every month? Well, cool, but I'm telling you, subconsciously, it felt like hell, because the business was performing, but it felt like a prison that I had to earn that, and I didn't, and realistically, it didn't make you happy. That was the thing. So what I really quickly worked out, for some people, they'll say, but it does make me happy. I really don't think it does. If you look deep inside, I don't think it does make you happy. Love, connection, freedom, time makes you happy. That M4 does not make you that happy. I assure you, it wears off. And what I found was, instead of being present with the man I loved, I was like, wait, but we need to make more money. We need to do this. We need to do that. And then I am like, sometimes like crying, and Matt's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I was like, I'm just becoming everything I didn't want to become. And that was a really hard moment for me, because I was like, I'm becoming that person who you look at and you're like, you've got everything, but you're still so fucking miserable. Because that's what happened to me. I was like, we need more, because we had to create more space between our outgoings. And then, I was like, I want to invest all this too. And how do I do that when I make more money? And it's just a never ending cycle. So what we did, sell the M4, traded in the Audi for a car that was half the price, moved to the countryside and where we're living now is this beautiful grain store, but you wouldn't get two up, two down in a city for this price. It's so cheap. You wouldn't even get a flat. I've spoken to friends who have flats in cities, and they pay more than this. It's so cheap. And the reason why is that just subconsciously that pressure's gone. If I lost it all tomorrow, I could get a job in Tesco and I could pay for this life. There's no disrespect to that. I'm just saying income wise, and so then I'm like, I just don't care. I don't care if Isla has a bad month. I don't care if the car blows up. I don't care. And if we make loads of money that month, great. I'll just invest it in something, or I'll spend it on myself doing my yoga teacher training. And it just creates this real sense of freedom. You just don't care. And that's magical. That's why we did it. And it feels amazing. And I think, I don't know. I'm so thankful I worked that out within a year. Really, it took me a year to work that out. I mean, I've blown a lot of money because of that, but thank God I blew it in a year and not 10 years, because what I didn't want to do is get to the place where I was retiring and was like, oh God, I spent all my life working so that we could have a nice house and a nice car. That's it. Just didn't cut it for me.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people, you've just described what financial freedom feels like, whereas people think financial freedom is the best car, the best house, the kids in a private school, like the top end of everything, and having enough money that comes in to cover that. But you've got to realistically ask yourself, like, how is that money coming in? Because if you've not, I don't know, the money is a mystery, but like if you have come from generations of intergenerational wealth and you've inherited, and like your money blueprint, like what £100 is to me, um £10,000 is to you, right? But if you are starting out in business and you want to make that kind of money and you want to grow, then it's coming from your work or investment. Like basically what I'm trying to say is money's got to come from somewhere. You've either got to put your time in it, or you've got to, like, where's it coming from? So, like you said, if you're going to have to work for the rest of your life at this capacity, at this level, to upkeep the life, because the more money you were making, the more you were trying to spend in that first year. Like, so you're going to go to Africa, but you're not going to go on a budget 3K holiday. You're going to go on a 10 grand holiday. And one day that 10 grand holiday is going to look very, very small, because if you can afford a 20 grand holiday, you're going to try and pay 20 grand. You still saw Africa.
Yeah.
But you saw it for 20 grand more than I did.
Yeah.
And then
And
that's
it's
just
it's never
different.
ending.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really never
Enough.
ending. And it's also like, even if you get to the place where you're not doing the work, say like with Isla, it's very realistic. I wouldn't necessarily have to work, but it's more about like when, you are so susceptible then to like something happens in the market and all of a sudden you're like, no, I'm going to lose it all. And what do you mean by all? Well, all this stuff. And I just felt like that wasn't a place I wanted to be at, where like I was like, oh no, I'll lose it all. Fuck, the market's changed and we're worried now. What are you stressed about? Well, actually, because this house and this stuff. And I was like, that's just not a place I want to live in. And there's always a next level, right? Because like you said, it's like that last holiday, to do better than that, then you're spending 50 grand, 20 grand. And there's some people, don't get me wrong, who are multi-millionaires, that it doesn't mean that much to them. But what I really want to create is, if I became a multi-millionaire, that I'm still okay with my Greg's Bake. By the way, I have in my freezer Greg's Bakes from Iceland that cost me like 40 pence a bake, and I eat that. But at one point I was paying hundreds and hundreds of pounds on food. I'm not even that kind of girl. Like, I'm not. And I was like, what am I even doing? Like, and I want to forever be that person who, if it then got to the point where it was earning me millions a month, that I'm like, I'm just really happy with a Greg's Bake. And like, that's it. That's the thing. Because actually, like, and I know so many people in the industry who are wealthy, and the ones that I'm just like, I just know they're mega because they're super chill. They're not spending, they dress really normally. Like one of my friends, I know he does very well, and like, he goes to events and he like takes a bit of food with him. But like, and that's like, so I got so much love for that, because actually the guy could afford anything he wanted, but like, he's like, well, why would I want to do that for? I'm going to take some food. Like, and I just love it. I love that idea.
I mean, I've always said, like, I've always said, when you say when you're younger, you think that having like a £300,000 house is like amazing. Like, it is amazing, as in like you're rich, right? But then when you realize when you grow up what rich actually is. But I used to have that same thinking about becoming a business owner. So when I was in my early 20s, and I'd read like Rich Dad Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich and The Secret, I thought that I would retire by 40 with a private jet, all this, right? Because I thought that becoming a business owner meant being in Forbes, in the Financial Times. It meant having a skyscraper in Canary Wharf. Like, that's what business owners were to me. And now that I am one, I couldn't think of anything worse.
Yeah,
Like,
stressful.
I'm like, the idea of me going to Canary Wharf to my shiny tower is so, I mean, literally, this is what I look like right now. I've literally got Uggs on with silver. Yes,
Yeah.
the Uggs on. A nice yellow jumper with like socks and Ugg boots on. I could not think of anything worse right now than traveling to Canary Wharf to my like shiny tower. So your goals change, and
Mm,
your um values change, right? I literally, guys, I'm in a shed. Like, I've decorated it nicely, I've painted the walls like
mm,
a hexagon, but this is actually a wooden shed in my back garden, and there is nothing that makes me happier in the morning, like going around the house, going into the shed, and then at lunchtime going back into the house, getting a coffee, then coming back. Like it's just so nice. But I am going to throw something out there that I need to digest and work out what this means for me. And that is this year, I think I put a post out there recently where my accountant told me that I've doubled my last year. So 2020, my latest year is double my last year. And I was like, tell me about it. I'm doubly tired. I am more tired this year than last year, double the amount for sure. But on paper, it sounds amazing that I've doubled my business in a year. But when I looked at the numbers, I was like, is that it? Like, I feel like I feel like the business should be turning over at least triple, if not quadruple, because that's the kind of energy or creativity I've put into my business, but it doesn't translate that in the numbers. So I'm not a 7-figure business owner, and my dream life that I've got right now doesn't cost 7 figures either. Like, even my most favorite bottle of wine, I think is 50 quid. And that's just, that's my favorite bottle of wine. So even if I'm a millionaire, that wine will still cost me 50 quid. So what I'm trying to say is, like, a glass of wine with my husband does not cost millionaire life money. But why is it then that I'm looking at my business and I'm like, I don't know if you've ever been there, Anastasia, or if people listening are there, like, but the way I worked, I surely should be getting more than I'm getting. What would you say to that?
Yeah, so I think I felt like that, and we were this at that point we were doing really good. Like I said, 10, 20 grand a month taking home. No, like it was big. Like as in like, not just not the business. That's what we were taking home. That's what people dream of, right? And again, I'm always really open about it. Never for any other reason than saying when that happened to me, I felt like I deserved more. Now you're like, what? That's a lot of money to take home each month. What the hell? And I was like, it's not enough because I was giving my soul to it. So what you're feeling, I felt like I was like, I deserve more. And like but then that's when I was like, this isn't right. Because obviously, Ros, I appreciate you're saying that, like, actually, I feel like the figure actually isn't enough. Whereas maybe I don't know what it is, but in my case, it clearly is enough. I got to the point where I was like, this is delusional. Like I'm taking this home. And I was like, why do I still not feel like it's enough? And I think some of it is because we give so, so much to these businesses. Like, Ros, you give your heart and soul, and you can't put a price on my heart and soul and everything I've given. So sometimes we're like, 10 grand a month isn't enough. It needs to be 50 for what I've been doing here. And that's my only explanation for it. And I think I had to really like look inwards and was like, what is it that you're with the problem? Because it's not the money. It's not the money because you've got that. So what's the problem? Is it your self-worth? Is it that you feel like you're worth more than that? For whatever reason, you haven't yet quite proved that, or there's something inside. Because for me, it definitely wasn't the money because there was a lot of it. So it was like, what's
I
wrong for
mean,
you to
like,
feel that way?
I'm paying myself, like, the money sat in my bank in the Starling
Mm,
account. I can pay myself more. Like, I think my top month has ever been is 28,000.
mm,
Um and then
amazing.
sometimes your lowest can be 5, right? But I don't pay myself just because I can make 28 doesn't mean I pay myself 28, because
Mm,
I just don't, because I'm already doing all the things that I love. And when I've spent my money, I'm like, oh, there's still some left. I haven't even caught up spending it. Like, I can't spend it
that's
because
good, Roz. That's
I'm
good.
not,
That's
I'm not like
yeah.
that. I'm not like, so I know it's not because I want more money, because I want to spend more money and I want to buy a designer bag and I want to buy Louboutins. I'm not doing that, but I just think that as a business owner, I'm like, there's a way to scale this and I haven't figured out how.
Yeah, I think
Like,
it's the
there's
like the
definitely
worth of being like I give this everything, and like I don't know whether there's like we can't put a figure on that. So I agree with you. It's not about the I need to take the money out. I need 30 grand this month so I can buy shit with it. I don't buy designer clothes. So I'm totally with you on that. I think it's a psychological thing of being like I just thought I was worth more, that it was worth more than this because I've given it everything. I think it's
yeah.
something like that.
I think it is, because there might be like I know there's a lot of brokers listening to this that are probably like, no, not probably. They are doing work till 10 o'clock at night because rates are changing and stuff like that. And then they'll earn £250 from a case, like a product transfer. And they are so beaten by the end of the month or the year that it takes every love and joy out of their job, because
Yeah.
the money doesn't reflect that passion and the energy and the time that is invested into it. So yeah, it is a bit of a hard relationship to have with a business that, well, you earn enough, so what you complaining about? But it's like, but what I put in doesn't reflect what I could
Yeah.
be earning.
Well, yeah, and I don't even think it's it's spot on. And I don't even think it's even about like, this is why I said it's like not even about the could be earning. Because I think even unless your mindset like catches up with it, I think even if I was taking home 100 grand myself every month, there would have still been, if I hadn't shifted my mindset to almost be, um, I think at that point it was like, it was never going to be enough. So there's always more, because I think it was the time and effort I was putting into Isla maybe. Or that particularly, I think when you're an entrepreneur, part of what gets you to, I had Stephen Bartlett say this before. So like there's a peak of like, you go up like this, and what gets you there is the same thing that will be your demise. So as an entrepreneur, the thing that gets us there is I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. Do more, which is why the 20 grand a month was like, oh, that's still not enough because I've given it so much. And also I can do better. 30 grand, 40 grand, 100 grand a month. You're still not happy because it's actually a mindset thing. So then that will be your demise, because the more you chase that as well in a way that's not healthy, either for you or the business, will be the thing that makes you come unstuck and will cause you to lose that business, I believe. So I think like, what's interesting, it's there's no real value you can place on how much you dedicate to this, because we give our lives and so it means so much to us. And I think we're so hard on ourselves. So we're like, you could do better than that. Like, and then and I was looking at me like, Jesus, better than that. I used to dream. I didn't even think I'd ever earn that money a month. And then I
Yes.
was like, not enough.
Or
And
even
now
the
I've
way
just
that
really
we're doing
changed
it.
it.
I love that. Thank you, Anastasia. And yeah, I'll have in the show notes all of Anastasia's profiles, like the Wildpreneur, Isla as well. Ladies who can, we can share everything with you. But of course, as I've always said on these shows, you're a money honey. I'm the money honey host. Anastasia's a money honey, and together the positive pollination comes from you positively pollinating, which means if Anastasia today has sprinkled her pollen, her magic pollen with us here today, but it does nothing if we don't share it, if we don't appreciate it, if we don't acknowledge it. So if you've enjoyed Anastasia's conversation today and you want to continue that conversation, please reach out, say to her, thank you for being on the show. This really helped me. If you think this show will help someone, okay, send it to them. Like, that's positive pollination. Spread it and say, look, I heard Anastasia speak. I really feel like this will connect with you. But also you can be part of the positive pollination movement by being the voice too. So if you have a voice that you want to use, you all have a voice. Firstly, you all have it. But if there's a message deep inside of you that you want to share, then this is your platform. This is the place to come and do it. It's a safe, supportive community where you can share with the world your story and what you do, because you just never know who needs to hear it. So please don't hold back, because if people like Anastasia will hold back, like how sad would the world be? So thank you, Anastasia, for not holding back and for being the best version of you here with me today. Thank you so much.